Amorous cat, alas, you too must yowl with your love, or even worse, without. Yaha. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Thought Process. This is your host, Marco and Greg. What's going on, man?
We've had a long night of learning social media and talking with our old friend Luis, who was here.
Yeah, just through the conversation that we had with him, what we were talking about, we were just reminiscing on the past experiences that we've had together, and it actually kind of goes with today's topic for me, which is the importance of having you guys around through not just now, but through my life for the past. I've known you for, I'm going to say 14 years at the least.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've known you for 14 years and, we're still going strong. We're here. We're doing this podcast. But with, just the friends. And we were talking about the bachelor party and how just my closest friends were there and how fun it was, the shenanigans we got into. Just everything.
Even what we didn't get into, just what happened around you.
Yeah, I mean, just everything that happened with the people that were there, and that they actually made it that much more special. As if you guys weren't there, I don't think it would have been as cool, or I don't think that And this is I'm just saying, like, I think the experience would have changed.
Yeah.
And we didn't do a typical thing like just going to Vegas. You go to Vegas, it's you're in a club, it's loud, everyone, you can't even talk. But for us, the majority of the thing was kind of, it was like a 2-day thing. We did two, remember? We went to we did a camping trip.
Mm-hmm.
That was like we just did one night, we camped. And through that, I think it helped forge the group a little bit, because some of you guys were still a little awkward with one another. Just like we hung out, but we haven't hung out that much. And that day kind of solidified the relationship between everybody. And then the second one,
the bond was made.
Yeah, was the glue was poured on the second one, which. I saw most of you guys struck out, with women.
Hey, I didn't strike out. I didn't make a shot.
Greg didn't take a shot.
Can't lose on something you've never made the shot on.
But just and everything else, like all the other experiences that we've had so far, going out, just working together. We used to work in the same place. So over the years, the relationship has just gotten stronger. And this week for me, man, it's been an eye-opener. In the type of work that I'm involved now, real estate, it's a relationship is everything. And that's why I wanted to have this topic today, because it made me think about not about future business and future clients and future customers and whatever comes with that, but also the existing relationships that I have now. Let's say you're sitting at home, you're thinking about the type of relationships you've had. Everybody has had really important relationships or really shitty ones. And so I kind of just wanted to, shed a light on that for people. And because for me, just like I said, just lately, it's been really important. I've been thinking about not just friends, about coworkers, about mentorship. And everything is interconnected by relationships. The bond that you and I have is a relationship. It's a reciprocal relationship, or a reciprocating relationship, that it's like It's I give you something, you give me something, and it's usually, it could be support, whatever the case it may be, right? And I just don't see that many people talk about this. When was the last time you had this conversation with someone?
It's been a long time.
A long time, and it's probably, it could have been either an amorous relationship, maybe your parents it's always been important for them. But aside from that, when we get together, like as friends, as a group, we always talk about the good and also the bad times. Gilbert just sent the group chat this video that just won't leave me alone. He's gonna keep that video until who knows.
Yeah.
And that video is like me going over a bump, and he just finds it so funny. He gives me a hard time about it. And we capture that and we keep those memories, and it's just part of the fun.
Yeah. Like I have a community of people that I've played video games with for the last 2 years. We don't know each other's names. Like, we've heard them every once in a while, but I'm out.
Cheers. Oh, there's some right there.
We don't know each other's names. We know a lot about each other. One guy is a what do you call it? Like, he's an engineer for cement companies. So he works on dams.
Keep the mic closer.
Yeah. And cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
And
to relationships.
And he's younger than me. That's all I know. I don't know his actual name. He's French Canadian. And I make fun of him all the time because before I knew he was French Canadian, I thought he was Hispanic of some sort. Because his accent to me sounded Hispanic. So I always make fun of him for that. And then he actually also kind of looks Hispanic too. So I don't want to make fun of him for it. So it's like little things like that. Like that you hold on to and you make jokes out of with friends. And that's the difference. You can make fun of your friend in a non-hostile way. And that I think that's helps solidify relationships, is when you can let go of the issues of a situation.
Yeah. But now that you're on that subject, and that's really interesting. You mentioned it's online.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I see things from just, I don't know, it just may be the type of person I am, like the awareness level that I have. I see more and more relationships are going online. I mean, nowadays you find love online. You're on, you're swiping right, swiping left on different platforms, and you're kind of losing that initial spark. Or it's like there's something that you can't from online. You can't, or there's something from reality that you can't get from an online thing. Like, if we, like, even when we were doing this podcast, it was cool, and yes, it was good, and we did a lot of, we had fun and whatever, but it wasn't the same thing as you being here right now, because it's not just me, hitting live and we're live. There's a whole thing. We're listening to music, we're talking to Luis for an hour, we're just laughing.
Yeah, we've been here for at least like 3 hours now before starting.
Yeah, and like, you can't get that from an online thing, and you can't replace that from an online thing.
I disagree myself personally, but I think what happens and why the online relationships have become so prevalent is that it's easier to find people who have your interests.
Sure.
Just because someone has your interests, though, doesn't mean you can forge a relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other thing. You're finding more people who are similar to you and have your interests, so it's easier to create some kind of relationship, regardless. Like you mentioned, online dating. It would be easier to forge a relationship with someone online who is interested in everything you like than someone you don't really know anything about, and maybe they like going to the beach, but you prefer working all the time. Like in that sense, you got nothing in common, and you can't really forge anything that way.
So that's actually a good point. But wouldn't you say that the quality of the relationship would be better? Okay, so now we're not just talking about dating. Now we're talking about, you mentioned you have friends online. You guys play like video games and whatnot, and you've been playing video games for how many years? No, but I mean with these same
Oh,
people.
these people,
Yeah.
2 years we've
So
known each
two
other.
years. You don't really know. You don't even know their first name, but you you've been in contact with them for 2 years. How does that differ from having an actual connection outside of that? Like with someone like us sitting here, given we've been talking for 14 years. But let's say that who was the last person that you've met through the group? It might have been Chris Ayala, who's
Okay.
been a guest on this podcast before. Um, you know, the relationship between the texting on the group chat and actually seeing him, and we talk, and I'm sure that there's a difference in that.
I mean, I've actually only met him 3 times. So without the online connection,
Uh-huh.
I think there would be a whole lot less of a relationship. We had him for the podcast. We went to the tacos, and then your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I think I may have met him a couple times outside of that, but it was more like a hey, how you doing? 1 hour and out. But yeah, I've only really hung out for an extended period of time 3 times with him. And I mean, I've actually thought about that too when it comes to family. Like my grandma, since I can remember, lived 13 hours away. I may visit her once a year, maybe once a year. Sometimes it's every other year for a week. But like, I don't. I'll take her opinion. I'll take her advice. I'll say happy birthday and all that. But like, there's not too much of a relationship there in a sense. Like you don't get to experience much with that person, but you still, I don't know, you get something out of it that I don't know. Like it's your grandma in this circumstance. It's your grandma. Like
So
you
are
love
you?
them for I don't know what the
No, no,
reason is.
no,
I
no, no.
guess.
I understand, but are you saying that if you didn't have the phone, like a phone call, because now we're talking about having an actual conversation with someone and getting to know them by being in the same room with them. So you're talking about having like the phone and being a little disconnected with her. That is still a relationship because you get to talk to her on the phone.
Yeah.
Because that's also a good point. If it weren't for like messaging apps like WhatsApp, I wouldn't be talking to my family on a day to day
Yeah.
because everyone's got their own family, and on WhatsApp or whatever, we have a group chat and everyone just talks and we send memes, pictures, videos of whatever's going on, right? So it's definitely given it's helped keep the family bond strong and the relationship strong, but I wouldn't necessarily. I would rather see them in person than having that. Of course, it's nice to have that for convenience, but I think it just dilutes the substance of what you get.
Yeah, yes and no. Only because I think you can have relationships with people over some type of technology that you would not be able to have in person. There are people who you don't have much interest in. You don't have much to talk to each other about. But because of the internet, like you said, you're sending people memes and funny things and just for lack of better word, shooting the shit. Like it's easier to do that and not have to rely on this person's opinion. Because there's friends out there where you're friends with and you're willing to shoot the shit or have some dinner with, but you wouldn't trust them with things. Like if you
Mhm.
went on a vacation, you wouldn't really want them to be in your house taking care of your stuff.
Sure.
And so I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
that gives you the capabilities of having more relationship than with more people than you would be able to without it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, because essentially, what we're doing now is we're allowing someone to come in into our relationship, and that's our listeners and viewers. And I like to be kind of clear with who I am, and you seem to be like that, and you're consistent. You're not like we're not here putting up a front or a persona. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is really how we talk, and
Well, you can tell because I'm very illiterate.
well, that's a whole different story.
Half the time I start going into a subject, you don't understand what the hell I'm talking about.
No, but that's just because you take these wild turns, that unexpected turns, which I like because it for me it kind of I have to be on my feet to keep up with that. And so, but what I'm saying is like having our viewers and listeners, it's we're actually adding another relationship beyond what we already have, which is them. Eventually, they're going to be pissed off that we said something, or, they're going to be like a brother or a sister or, whatever. And
we liked the color green more than the color blue. So someone's mad about it.
yeah, that's just, it comes with it.
Yeah.
But okay, so yeah, we're talking about the technological technological relationships and the real relationships. But I guess that's a good point, but it's I guess it's more of a, what do you get from a relationship? Like, because I've been thinking about this all week because of what I said. It's not just I chose the profession that I'm in, or the career or whatever, or the business in my case, because I tend to do good with people and making these types of relationships than like, just being behind the desk doing the same thing over and over and over. So in the same frame, um well, what I wanted to talk about was really about how relationships have affected me in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and how they may have affected you, because with opening a new relationship with someone, or getting into a relationship, whether it's friendship or like love or whatever, or even fatherhood for you, um, you're there's a thing that comes with relationships, which is one, depending on, well, it depends on the person, but you open yourself up to be hurt, you open yourself to suffer, because you trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that comes a lot of different things, and again, I don't really see a lot of people talk about it or even get into this kind of subject because it's very personal.
Yeah.
And it's very private, and you talk about love, and then it becomes a lot of things become taboo.
Well, people are scared of different things too. So like, there's plenty I wouldn't want to talk about because I don't need certain people knowing.
Of
And
course.
that's where it becomes, when do you just not care and take
Well,
responsibility for what you did?
see, what I'm really after is not about the specifics of what we've done or what has happened or who has hurt us or who we've hurt or whatever, right? It's really about this web of, like, computers and cell phones and things. It's a network.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is tied in with the internet or with a wire. It's a network of things. And in the same way, people function in the same way. You know, we are a web of people and relationships, and that's how we, you know, go through the world. You know, if if you get hurt or something happens to you, more often than not, you have family to help you out, or maybe friends. You know, even I would even say most lonely people aren't lonely. They think they're lonely, but there's a lot of people that might care for them.
Yeah.
Like,
But see, that comes back to the relationship kind of concept, is that they don't see the relationship that's in front of them. They don't think that these people are trustworthy with the emotion or whatever they're feeling. They don't have any way to remove. I don't know. I think as we talk about whatever it is, like we never had a professional relationship. We met playing handball in high school. There was a time period where I didn't even talk to you for probably 2 years while I was in a relationship with my son's mother.
mm-hmm.
And then you were going to be in my wedding. And then one day I came to your house and told you and our other friend Marcelo that wedding's off and I'm moving out. And then we've hung out every day since then. And before that relationship, we hung out every day before that. And so there's relationships like that like I knew you were my friend the whole time. We just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then there's relationships where these people are there, but you have no connection and no like you don't feel like they're important. They're just there.
Like acquaintances.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just part of your life, but they don't hold.
There's no importance to it. They're just there. Almost like it was like growing up. I had one of my good friends that he was kind of forced upon me. I had no choice but to be his friend. I didn't really like him. He was not that great of a guy. And then over time, it was just he was my good friend because he was always there. But like, how much could you trust the person? Mm-hmm. And that's where it became over time. It was I made the decision, hey, like I need to step away from this.
Yeah.
But like you're still my friend. I'll say hi. Like good to see you. Like if you need some help moving or something, I'll help you. But like I'm not gonna be calling you about my problems. I'm not gonna be calling you, hey, I found this great new person in my life, or hey, my son's born, come check him out, like those kind of things. So relationships can change over time, but
mm-hmm.
there's a lot of relationships that you don't even have to think about it. Like if they go out of your life for some reason, they can come right back in.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I have a lot of people like that in my life. You know, who was Raul. Raul has been in my life since I can remember. You know Raul.
I know him.
We went to high school.
Yeah.
And
he was on one of the podcasts. He was
on the podcast.
How did you describe him on the podcast? He was a chef.
He's a chef. He's a psychobilly. He's in a psychobilly band. Yeah, he's just an overall. He's such a cool guy, man. And it's funny because that's what you just said. Having that relationship, dude, over the years, I can pick up the phone right now and call Raul, and if he's busy, obviously he won't answer, but he'll always call back. Or when I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm doing this podcast. You want to be you just want to come and do it? He's like, yeah, man. And we didn't just before we started the podcast, we caught up for a few hours.
Yeah, and at the same time, you probably didn't talk to him for at least a year or something.
No, man, I didn't talk to him for.
I mean, you may have sent him a message or saw him on social media or something, but you didn't hang out or any of that.
No, and we just picked up exactly where we left off.
Yeah.
And yeah, some people you can do that. Some other people, they just, they're decide they don't want to be in your life anymore, and they're gone,
And it's
and that's
interesting
okay.
because there's relationships out there that you think will never work, but get forged because of something. Like my personal situation. Uh, my roommate is my ex's ex.
I still can't get
My
over that.
my son has the same mom as his son, and we're roommates, and we see each other every day. And we talk about everything, politics, the way we raise the kids, the understanding of we are our own people. We understand that we do need to teach the kids in a non contradicting way.
Like
But at
consistent,
the end of the day, they do need to know that he needs to listen to his dad and my son needs to listen to me. And
dude. That must be so tough. You know how I
so
would if
we talk
someone
about the balancing of all of this.
when people
And
ask me, dude, I say, yeah, Greg just basically, he built an igloo. and
and
but like, well, continue. I don't want to
and
cut you off.
and I mean it's not like him and I, like, we don't not get along. We get along, but there's no like I think we argued about politics one time and got like really heated about it when our voices were high. But no, like, well, let's fight. Like at the end of the day, at the end of it, we went our separate ways. He played his Nintendo Switch game, and I was on my computer, and that was it. So it's just people being able to have that understanding of being able to separate arguments into like a talking capacity rather than
Well,
a
that's
I'm
that's
better than you, and because you think you're better than me, I screw you.
yeah.
Like
I think that's difficult, man, because well, relationships have been lost because of many different things. Some you mentioned, politics is a big one right now. Where you stand in politics, many people will, um, they'll just say, "Oh, you stand there, okay, I don't want to be your friend anymore." And that's fine, like whatever. But that's where I think the quality of the friendship comes in, because no matter what you tell me, like I don't care if you're voting for, you know, the these nuts this year, who was you remember that guy, right?
yeah, it
I
was
don't
actually a
care.
minor, and he signed up
Yeah,
as
I don't
these
care
nuts.
if it's him, and I'm like, wow, Greg, you're wasting your, but whatever,
Mhm.
right? I don't care because it's, I know you, and we've been through shit. And that's what's important to me. I don't care where you stand on things. Like we argue on here all the time. You have a difference in opinion, and I have a difference of opinion. And at the end of the day, we're still doing this podcast together, you know. And I think that's where the quality of the relationship comes in. I would say that it's more, more relationships are lost in friendships that maybe just online, or they never went through anything. They never faced any hardship before. So that actually, like you said, certain circumstances forge a good relationship. And yeah, well, this whole thing came up because I'm sitting there with my business partner, and we're talking about this property, and the seller is trying to be relevant. He's trying to make a connection. He's friendly. He's a really great guy. But I started picking up on the tricks. Just I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't looking for the, oh, this guy's trying to sell me this. He's trying to do this. He's trying to do that. I wasn't looking for any of that. It just it was, I just started seeing it. I wasn't looking for it. I just started seeing it. I'm like, oh, this is what's happening. Because, we were talking about things, important things, and telling us about the city and why we should invest there or why we should be in the city, whatever. And then I thought about it, I'm like, oh, okay, I understand what you're doing. You're a cool guy. Yeah, like all the information you're giving me is cool, but I still understand what you're doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kicked this train of thought for me that was, oh, this is what you have to do in real estate. You need to make a connection. You need to stay relevant with your um, clients or your whatever or your customers, and you need to forge that relationship. You know, he was
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I grew up in this city, and I know the city inside and out. This is why it's good. This is why it's bad." Great, but it's not going to go past that.
Yeah, he's not forging a relationship. He's forging fakeness. Like,
Well, I think he was. I think he cared. I mean, I think he cared, but
well, yeah, he wanted to sell you the property.
yeah. But at the same time, what I'm saying is, in order, relationships are everything. There's no way around it. I don't care if any business, a relationship is everything.
Yeah, because I mean, there's such thing as a bad relationship. Just because you know someone doesn't like a bad relationship can exist just as much as a good relationship can. So what kind of a relationship are you gonna have with people? So like I brought my phone up because someone sent this to me on the way over here. It's a picture of a man. It kind of looks like he's holding a heart, and like there's a string from the heart to a girl who's laying down, or who's like on her knees, kind of. And it says, the more chances you give someone, the less respect that they'll start to have for you. They will begin to ignore the standards that you've set because they'll know another chance will always be given. They are not afraid of losing you because they know no matter what, you won't walk away. They get comfortable with depending on you for forgiveness. Never let a person get comfortable disrespecting you. And it's true. Just because you have a good relationship with someone doesn't mean that you should lie to them.
Or take advantage of them.
If you're doing something wrong, tell them they're doing something wrong. You don't have to be all goody two shoes all the time. That's how you make a relationship. You tell the person, like if you came to me with a problem, I'm gonna try to give you the solution. You may not like the solution. Sometimes the solution may be harder for you to grasp than a different solution I give you. But that's why you came to me in the first place, because you had the relationship of me knowing that I'm going to tell you what's right or wrong. And you trust that what I'm going to tell you is not bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
And I saw that, what I just read, and that's exactly what I want to teach to my son. Like, my son's personality is very like, I was talking to his mom actually about this, and she agreed with me. And he's very like primal. Like the other day I wanted to go fishing, and I took him fishing. And he goes, I want to get the spear so I can get the fish to eat the meat. Ah! And I was like, what the heck? And he's got that primal thing. So to tie this back to it is he's kind of in a stage of like aggression. He likes to fake fight, but his fake fight he goes 100% on. So his fake fighting, he'll try to punch you in the face. He'll uppercut you. And so I tell him, I said, hey, if you're gonna uppercut me, that's fine, but you need to take my uppercut. So when he uppercuts me, I uppercut his ass right back. So one time,
by the way, his son's only like 20 pounds.
He's 4. And so one day I went to go pick him up from his grandma. And he comes over to me, and I was talking to his grandma just to catch up on like what happened during the week. And I didn't pay attention to him because he kept saying all these things, and I was like, hey, I'm talking to grandma. So he kept talking, so I ignored him so that I can hear what she had to say. And he straight up went, bam, as hard as he could, slapped me right across the face. I I turned to him, I looked at him dead in the eye, and I went, bam! And his grandma looked at me like, what the heck? And I was like, if you expect to hit someone, expect it back. And you got to teach that too. Like, I obviously didn't do enough to bust his face open.
So,
But
and
I
this is
smacked him at the same
this is
intensity he has smacked
and
me.
this is allegedly.
Allegedly. No, it's
Look,
but
dude.
see, no,
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
even care.
no.
That's my point. When you go to talk about things, like, you need to stop BSing things. If I punched you directly in the face right now, you're gonna tell me that you're not gonna try to punch me straight back in the face. No, yeah, it's you have to understand a situation and be able to teach the other, and that's where the relationship comes from. Is teaching the other the knowledge or understanding of the situation that the other doesn't.
Well, I think what we're talking about now is more about boundaries. Because these
Sure,
boundaries, yes, are part of a relationship, but they're a separate thing in a way.
but there's boundaries to relationships too.
Yes.
Like, you and I aren't gonna go to the next room and have sex like you and your wife do. You know what I mean?
That's 100% accurate.
but no, like, that's what I mean. There are boundaries to relationships, but you usually don't talk to me about certain kinds of boundaries that you would talk to, say, your business partner.
Well, yeah. Well, the relationship changes, right?
Yeah.
And it's about. I'm not gonna come and give you a spiel about how to do business if you're not even interested in it. So that's like a whole different thing. Unless you ask me, then I'll give you my advice, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the boundaries. I think boundaries are part of. They're also very important, actually.
Yeah.
You have to have boundaries. You have to be able to tell someone, like, hey, I mean, I've got friends like that. You know, they come to you and they tell you everything, and you tell them, like, hey, you gotta do this, you gotta stop doing that, and they don't like it. They go back to do the same thing they came to you for, and well, you can't do much about it.
Yeah.
But you know,
they
at the
chose
same
the
time,
relationship then.
right? At the same time, if for me, relationships are weird because I have all types. All of my friends are so unique and different that it's not like I have the same relationship with you as I do with Robert or Gilbert or Sergio or Chris or every relationship that I have personally is so crazily unique. And that's, I mean, for me it's better. I like that. I like that it's that you guys are different. Like I've never I don't want the same I don't want to have the same friend 10 times over. You know?
Yeah.
For me. And I don't know. How do you have the same thing or what? Like your friends, like the friends that maybe I'm not a part of, like online friends or any other friends that are not part of the group. Do they seem to be different or the same or like I don't know?
No, they're definitely all different. But I feel like I know this is all on me, but I don't think I had made some relationships that are now gone because of family separating and stuff like that, but I don't think I've made any friends since high school, really.
Really?
Yeah.
At all?
I can't think back outside of my online community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've made a single friend since high school. Everyone that I talk to on a daily basis outside of my my roommate, I don't think there are acquaintances, but no one that I talk to consistently.
And
I haven't made a single one since
where
high
does
school.
that come from or what?
That's just me not. I don't know.
Are you not putting yourself out there, or sometimes there's a limit of amount of people you can, you know.
It's definitely not that. I have a lot of free time on my hands.
It's
But I don't know what it is. I don't enjoy. I don't think I enjoy this time period's personality. You know how people say that they were meant to be born in a different time? I
Yeah.
don't like the culture nowadays. And I don't know where there is a culture that I do like.
I think you need to get out more.
That's what people say.
I keep
But at the
telling
same
you,
time, I'm a cheapskate, so I don't like to get out more.
but that I'm not talking about literally, mentally. You know, as people, we tend to live in a box, as you would say, and the box is comfortable. And in the box, you have your friends that you know, you have your community online, and you have the world that as you know it. Well, putting yourself outside of the box would be like going to, for instance, going to a bar and, you know, just out of curiosity, you spark up a conversation with someone. You don't know what type of, like, again, they say don't judge the person by its cover, right? Or the book by its cover. And so most of the time, and I've been guilty of it, we've judged people and we're like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to talk to that person. But sometimes I've met really good people just by opening myself up to that person. For instance, today, for lunch, well, I went to lunch with you.
Yeah,
Earlier.
that was an experience.
That
for
was
me.
cool.
Like it was very interesting.
Well, go
are
ahead.
you fine with me talking about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
don't know.
Depends what part of it.
I mean, it's kind of a flex, but like.
Okay. Yeah. Small flex.
Your boss owns a Bentley,
Yeah.
and you get to drive him around, and I mean, it's not your car, but you get to drive it around every once in a while.
Right.
And so, I know you still think of it as like it's a really cool thing, but you're probably a little bit used to it by now. Like we were talking about it, that how your mindset changed on success, and like having a car like this would be nice, but it's not something that you're aspiring to get now.
Right.
And so to me, like we were sitting in the car and I said this, me, the brokest guy on earth, sitting in a Bentley today, it's kind of contradictory. And you can even tie this all back. The only reason I got to ride in the Bentley is because of my relationship to you.
Yeah.
So, sure, it's not a reason why I'm your friend, but it is something that I benefited out of because of the relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of if it was the Bentley or the conversation that you had with me when my wedding was going to be called off, or the conversation I had with you in high school when I had a fight with my girlfriend that I had in high school, regardless what it is. It's all those experiences added up that give you appreciation for people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to go down that little rabbit hole. But when we were talking about the conversation or the experience we had today is, you had some time between a meeting and you needed to go get the car washed. So you hit me up because you were closer to my house. We went out for lunch and I got to ride in the Bentley, and I talked to you about it. I was like, how did the looks get? Like, I was looking at people when we went up to the car wash, and people definitely looked at us very quickly, but was more like, what are these two young guys doing with a Bentley? Like,
because this Bentley is not like entry level. This is a $500,000 car.
Yeah, and they looked at us very, very quickly, and I was like, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. And that's why when we were leaving the car wash, I asked you about it, and you said, yeah, let's go down PCH, and you'll see people look. And it wasn't at all what I expected it to be. I thought people would look at it more, but I feel like people were more shocked that younger guys were in it than anything. Like, they expected more from us than they did from the car. and we didn't provide enough.
Oh yeah, because we were actually the whole thing that we were talking about in the car was perception,
Yeah.
and our conversation on for lunch was about perception and how
Uh-huh.
people and how your perception changes depending on situations and people, right? And then we you said, well, you know, how do people look at you in the car? Then I said, well, they look at me differently. And so I'm like, hey, let's take a ride down PCH, and so you can see. And I, you know, the old, you know, there was an old lady crossing the street. We stopped, and she had a cane, and she stopped in the middle of the street to give us a thumbs up, and
Oh.
and so that happens all the time. And that, you know, talk about perspective. I've had people thinking it's my car. I've had people knowingly, it's like, oh, like, you know, like whose car is this? You know, whatever. But so the experience with that is pretty. It's actually been pretty interesting too. But it's the same thing. I wouldn't have been able to ever drive a car like this if it wasn't for, you know, my mentor or my boss or whatever, and the relationship that I have with him. I don't trust family driving my car. You know, he has this thing with me, and so I'm grateful for that. And actually, just the relationship over the years with him has changed me because, you know, house. I mean, you've been to the house. It's not like fancy. It's a nice house. It's got everything you need, and there's some things for the kids, you know. But he's not flashy by any means.
Yeah.
You've seen his other car. It's a van.
Oh yeah.
Blends in. He's not the type of person that wants to be known, or he doesn't want people to talk about him. He's not flashy. And I've learned that. I learned that. And it reinforced the humbleness that I have, having him as, I guess it was like as a role model, and seeing how he is. Because, and like I told you, my perception of success changed recently. It's not about having the car, the house, the things. It's more about making the money so that I can share all these things with people. Like, what's the point of me driving around the Bentley all day if my friends or family can never experience that?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna hit up Greg, see what he's doing, and well, drop off the car and we'll go have lunch. Right? That was the plan. It wasn't like, oh, hey, Greg, look at me, I'm driving the, like, no. We literally, I picked you up.
I mean, I've known you've been driving that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But to tell you the truth, I did flaunt it a little bit to some of my neighbors. I was like, dude, a Bentley's gonna pick me up. It's an Uber. And then I was like, nah, just kidding. My friend's picking me up. But no, I mean, but that's the point though, is because I knew it wouldn't. It was more of a joke than anything, and that's the difference when I see someone like you come say, oh, I'm gonna go and do this. Let's go have lunch. But then you turn around and you go out and you see people flaunting it to pick up a girl or something. I hate that type of type of thing, and that's why I said like earlier, I don't feel like I was born in the right time.
What time do you think you belong to? Like, because
I don't think it exists yet.
I've heard about. I've heard about this quite a lot actually, with different types of people. I've heard it from friends, just colleagues in general, and even myself, man. I feel like I'm more, I want to say old school, but that's not the right word because compared to my mom or my, you know, my family, I'm not that old school.
People like styles, and styles fall in time periods, and that's where I think a lot of this concept comes from. But mine is more of attitude and the type the type of mass attitude, like the type of, like if you go out to a bar and you walk in, you can look around and be like, okay, I know what these people
Like these are my
are
crowd or
more
not.
capable of doing, or what they're going to be interested in. You can tell the second a certain song comes on that everyone's going to start dancing and be freaking whores in my vocabulary.
Ratchet.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that's my point. There's too much nowadays that is not in my interest.
Okay.
And to find what I'm interested in is too hard because I don't see it. And I don't even know what it is because I'm not interested in the majority.
So let's pause there and hold that thought, man, because I think this is actually really interesting because it's a common thing that I hear with you. Like, you know, forever. It's been this whole thing where, and I'm going to go back to the box and the comfort zone. You know, you're not just not a, and it's not in any way like I don't want to put you down or anything like that.
Just put me down. We just talked about this.
I'm setting it up because I want to ease. I just want to ease.
Just flick some of that salt on me.
No, man. I think you just have to, because you seem like you want it. You want to get out. You want to see something more, but at the same time, you don't put much of the energy to it. Like, it's been tough for me as a friend to see you as the good guy you are, to not be able to have the things that you want. And sitting from you know, as a friend over here, I'm like, damn, Greg, I mean, you got good qualities, you know, you do.
Okay.
And you don't capitalize on them. Right? You
Sure.
don't put yourself out there enough to show people the person that you are. So when you say, I mean, it may not be important to you right now, and that's fine. I get that. But one day you're gonna have to make a choice of, you know, making a lady friend, for instance. And the only way to do that is to put yourself out there. Over lunch, we were talking about you having Tinder, swiping right and not getting any matches, but I already know why. Because you're probably 90% swiping left.
But see, that's what you said. And then it's not even that. I actually went on there for a while and just only swept right? And I actually looked this up because I wanted to know how these websites worked.
They have algorithms, right?
Yeah, so if you just swipe right, they eventually just give you people who don't exist, who are their bots. They have plenty of accounts on there that aren't real, just to keep you on there as saying, oh look, there's people on here. And so I discovered that if you only go right, they eventually stop giving you people or give you fake people. And so it said being a little bit more honest about it will grant you more success, most likely. And so I did that, and I started reading all the profiles, and so I'd get through like 10 people in like 30 minutes. And I'm like, this is kind of a waste of time, because those 10 people you went through, maybe they all swept left on you, so you just wasted time. So I started just going off of first impression, first photo, whatever it was. Doesn't matter if it's super blurry or super bad or super good. You either kind of like it or you just don't like it at all. And I'd probably say, let's say I go through 50 pictures. I don't know how much it is. I'd probably say that I probably swipe right on 40% of them. And I still get nothing.
Okay. By the way, guys. This is a new, what do you call it? On the podcast? Segment. The new segment is, let's find Greg a lady friend. So,
non-purchasable.
Yeah, I don't care if it's overseas. Just find him one, goddammit. No. Yeah, I mean, you guys have seen Greg enough of Greg for the past year and a half. I mean, I think we've been on here for it's about to be like 98 hours. 95, 98 hours. In between 95 to 97 hours. That's a lot of time to get to know someone. And so if you guys have been keeping up, or if you haven't, maybe you can go back to the old episodes, and you're gonna find the same Greg that I'm sitting with right now this whole time back then. So, you know, slide into his DMs, at him, whatever. Do whatever in order to get this guy's attention. Because, anyway, just going back to the whole thing that I was saying is, I think you really need to put yourself out there and be open to it. And not just saying, I'm out here. Be receptive. You know, if, and honestly, for me, because this was just me, the connections I made in person were 100 times better than any social media relationship that I've ever had. So, for example, if you went out to a coffee shop with a friend, or we went out to the bar, and maybe you and the waitress had a little moment, capitalize on that. It may not be the right person, or it may be the right person.
It's actually kind of funny.
And because if you don't do that and you don't put yourself out there, why would anyone put themselves out there for you? Like us, okay? And this whole podcast, we've been doing this for a year and almost a half. We really didn't put ourselves out there until recently. By the way, we launched a website. You can find it in our bio. We launched this podcast on every platform so that people from around the world can listen to us. This is putting ourselves out there. When we came in here and secretly recorded, and we only made the account for the Thought Process podcast, but we didn't really put it in so that our friends can see. It was very we were in the box. And slowly but surely, people will get to listen to this podcast. Maybe they'll get something out of it. And that's how the community that we're trying to grow will grow. Otherwise, if we just wait here for someone to find us, it's not going to happen. Or the chances are very slim. And, within a relationship, okay, for instance, my wife, the first time I met her, she gave me a dead fish handshake. Nobody up to that point in my time, and in that point in time in my life, had ever done that to me. I'm the type of person who not just now because of business, whatever, entrepreneurship, business, whatever. No, I've always been the type of guy to give a firm handshake because, honestly, I don't even remember why. That's just the way I grew up. And it caught my attention. And that was the only reason why I got stuck in my... I was like, oh, what the heck? This person's different. And that kind of started things off. It made me interested. She wasn't the same. I like things that are different. I like people that are different. In any of your lives, you're never going to find another Greg. Ever. I'm never going to find another friend. Like another Wu. Another Gilbert. Another Robert. Another Sergio. Another Luis. Another Chris. Any of these people. You're never going to find the same person like that. Like, even my car, you won't see, even my motorcycle, the car, the knickknacks, the things that I have. For me, it's just, that's just me. It's different. And, that's just been like the theme of my life, actually. It's just different. This podcast is different, but it's still me. It's just me. It's us. Like, you're not gonna find anyone. Maybe you will, but it's tough. And this is actually, again, we go back to the same thing. Why are we on here? Because to me, this is interesting. Having these conversations, the conversation over lunch was interesting, but in itself, that could have been a whole podcast. We're talking about perspective. We, in the middle of a little Pizza Hut patio or a pizza place patio with people around us, we're talking about perspective. People around us are talking.
Pizza Hut, give us that shout out.
We're talking about perspective. We're talking about these different conversations that I just don't see them. I don't hear them. I went on this whole tangent that I just forgot where we were going with this, but the whole point is relationships, and learning to appreciate those relationships, especially right now. Every so often, every week, even before this, man, remember I used, when things were happening, and I called you at least once a week. Like, yo, Greg, what's going on, man? What are you up to? Oh, just doing here, was working there, blah, 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 blah. Things are still here, doing this. I'm like, hey, man, let's go grab a coffee. Let's go grab some dinner, whatever. And we would have these conversations. And then, here we are, like, many years later, having these conversations. But now we're kind of just letting people in on these things that we talk about.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like well, you had this thought that I didn't let you finish, and maybe you can share with us with now.
Which thought?
That's
one of my issues.
You were gonna say something. I kind of cut you off.
No, I don't remember what it was then.
Well, whatever it was, I'm sure it was good. But we're talking about opening yourself up, being receptive.
See, that's one of the things though, is like we were talking about good and bad relationships. Is how do you, maybe it's me wanting to create good relationships and not understanding that good relationships can come out of a bad relationship.
That's actually a big one, man.
And I think maybe that's one of the things that hold me back, is that I understand that certain circumstances that can put me in a bad position may not be the normal position you would always be in. Like, my relationship with my roommate now is not the same as it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I served him court papers. Why would he ever be okay with me? You know what I mean? Relationships can change.
Of course.
And maybe that's one of the things I don't fully understand, is that I'm not willing to give more of a relationship to a bad circumstance.
So that's really deep. And if anything, that could serve you as your breakthrough.
Hopefully.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe.
We've all had bad relationships. Everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. You're sitting at home thinking, oh, my relationship's been good. Think about it. You've had bad relationships. Every single one of you. I have. I know you have. I know everyone that I know has.
Yeah.
At one point in their life. But like you said, some bad relationships actually became good relationships. I've had plenty of those. I have people that I wasn't so friendly with who now we talk every day. Things change. And I think that's the only thing that's sure in life. Change. Change is always there. And, sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to. Other times, it's out of your control. Right?
Yeah.
But the one thing, like right now, the one thing you have in control, Greg, is you. You're in control of you. If you don't open yourself up to people or lady friends, it's you. The reason why you don't have, I was gonna say booty call, but not a booty call. That's different. If you that the reason why you don't have maybe like I mean, come on, dude. You remember, going to the movies with that special lady that, or just even that text or that call you were always waiting for. It was different back then, and I think maybe you forgot about that. What do you think? No, like
Yeah.
you don't remember like, oh man, damn, like this. Oh, I'm gonna go out today. We're gonna go to the movies. Obviously, circumstances change. Now it's Netflix and chill. But um, this whole thing, it's like a game. You were playing a game, just like a PC or a video game. It only your avatar only does what you tell it to do, and in the same way, you have to do that for you. Because we're all good about saying, "Hey, you should do this, you should do that," but we're not very good about us taking our own advice. You know,
Okay.
especially in relationships, dude. It's like I know so many people who have been in bad relationships, but it's not the other people, it's them that they keep choosing the same damn type of people, you know?
Yeah.
Or, relationships that didn't go well. Well, they didn't set the right boundaries. And it's just they keep doing this. And it's going to take them a long time. Hopefully they learn from it.
And maybe that's why I'm setting the right boundaries and no one wants to participate.
But boundaries also need to be flexible. If you say, well, if you like coffee, I don't like you. Like, what type of boundary is that? I'll have my tea. You have your damn coffee. I don't care. Because that's not what's important.
Sure.
Even ideas aren't important.
But values are important, though.
Yes.
And there's a difference.
But here's the challenge. You and Luis are both single. You both are on Tinder. You both told me, oh, there are girls on here who bluntly say, if you don't like this, swipe left. You know what you should do? Swipe right. You know why? Because those people, they probably don't even know why they said that. They probably don't even know why they're promoting it. Sure, they probably don't even know, because now take this. Even if it's a bad thing, or maybe it's an idea that you don't like, maybe it's coming from a good place. It might be morally correct, and you're not looking at it that way. Because now you're choosing teams. Could be politics, whatever. Okay. If you're a Republican, swipe left. If you're a Democrat, swipe left.
But see, at the same time, though, by you swiping right, you are lying. And why would you start a relationship by lying?
But check this out. Are you lying, or are you open to change? Are you set in your ways? Are you set in all your ideas? Because I'm not. My ideas have changed throughout my life. I don't think I've had anything in my life that's been constant. I'm always changing. I never thought I'd be in the business I'm doing. Ever. I was in cell phones. I did cell phones for my first job. I was in Carl's Jr., who went through this whole list in the other podcast. I've been through so many things that I eventually found something that I like. And now what I like is actually very versatile. It can take many different forms. So even the business, I might be doing this business right now, but 10 years down the line, I might be having a different business. So I don't identify with my ideas, because my ideas, they're not permanent. They change. It's like, that's the only reason why I don't have tattoos. Because I don't want to one day wake up and be like, damn, I hate that tattoo. That's the only reason. I like them. They're visually pleasing. I would love to be sleeved up. Whatever, I can't. I won't do it because I just can't. In the same way that the things around me change and they're different, maybe I want a different type of tattoo. And you can't do that. It's permanent. So in the same way, I think about ideas like, am I stuck to this idea?
And I mean, now you got to think about this.
What?
By not getting a tattoo, you were still also always the same.
Wrong. You know why?
Because your skin falls off?
Because every 7 years, every cell in your body is different.
Okay. So then every 7 years, my tattoo should disappear, right?
No. Because how does I don't even know the whole tattoo science. It goes like deep in layers, right? And it's actually a scar, which is the reason why it doesn't go away. Right?
No.
That they fade, but it's always there because it's a scar.
No, because you can get them removed. You can't remove scars.
Well, you can't remove the bumps, but you can remove the ink.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Right? I don't know about the whole science behind tattoos, but that's where I'm at. Like, if everything's constantly changing, for instance, restaurants right now, if they stayed the same, they're going to be closed. However, if they changed and they took their dine-in orders or dine-in business to take out only or file the permit to get a patio, they're still open because you need to adapt. You need to change to different circumstances. And so it's like we can sit here and live in a pink world and say things are going to be, the color pink forever. That's a lie. Even relationships. I've had relationships where it was like, oh man, this is forever. Nope. Not forever. They're actually more fragile than I thought. And so if you go into a relationship thinking that, like, oh well, you're setting up yourself for failure, or maybe even worse, for disappointment. So, sometimes I joke around with my wife. She's like, yeah, we're good, right? I'm like, so far. And so I'm setting the boundary, dude. I'm like, well, yeah, so far, yeah, everything's good. But I don't know what you're going to do tomorrow. You're your own person. Things can change tomorrow. You may think, why the hell did I marry this guy? I don't know. So I appreciate things while they're here. And, actually, my dog, I don't think she'll ever change. I think that we're always going to be like, have this special connection. Now that is something that I see permanent. Like, I don't think I can go back right and be like, well, I don't like my dog anymore. I'm just going to take her back to TJ and let her roam around, whatever. No, yeah. Because she's, it's different. And the loyalty a dog has, oh my God, dude. Sometimes she likes to get into cat poop. I'm like, nope. I go rinse her mouth and then I put her on timeout. But then if I take her out of timeout, she's loving up on me.
Yeah.
And that's different. You can't get that with people, man. It's very hard. That's why I think my circle's definitely shrunk. It literally shrunk. I mean, we were friends with tons of people in high school. We had tons of friends. Not too much anymore. I probably am friends with, like, real friends with, like, a handful of you guys from high school. And then I've picked up stragglers around, along the road. And
well, I mean, I've done that where I've had friends and I've told them, like, hey, this is not right. Hey, this is not right. Multiple times. Hey, if you're not going to change, I'm out. I did it to 2 people. One never had the chance to turn it around. And the other did enough. And I now talk to this person again. But that's the thing. Like, people will want to come back because they'll finally understand that you were doing it from the right place.
Yeah.
Not doing it from spite for some reason. Doing it because you actually care. So,
Yeah.
like, I think it's actually going back to your wedding night. Actually, is I think I forged relationships with people I can't even remember. Did you hear what I was doing during your wedding?
Dude,
I'm sure you
if I
did.
wanted a bar, if I should have just put bottles there and left Greg to do the bartending, because Greg was out there.
I was
Hey,
hustling, man.
take a shot with me. Nope. Shot. Take a shot with me. Yes. Oh, cheers. Shot. Oh, you want a drink? Boom. Even the bartenders couldn't keep up with you.
Yeah, I was grabbing drinks for everyone. I made sure his mom always had what she needed. Like, I was talking to people that didn't even speak Spanish, didn't even speak English. I was like, drink, and I don't know. It was. I think it's more because I felt comfortable in the sense of having a reason to talk to people, and that's where I don't know how to forge a relationship, is because I don't know how to talk to people. I need a reason to talk to people.
Okay, so the reason now is I want to get to know you.
Sure,
okay?
but
Hang on.
You don't just walk up to someone and say, "Hey, I want to get to know you."
No, but you talk to them with the intent of getting to know them. Then you decide whether you want them in your life or not. Okay? Today. Oh, I kind of forgot this. I went to went to go grab like some baguettes and a Vietnamese coffee. While I was in line, this Vietnamese guy is like, he turned around, he kind of looked at me, he's like, "Hey, you like Vietnamese sandwiches?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love them." "Oh, cool. Better than McDonald's, right?" I'm like, 100%. And he just, well, because you're picky. But I was like, "Oh man, yeah." Like, I wasn't gonna just shut him down. We had this conversation, and then it was all friendly, whatever, and then we went from there. And but just being open to that. Some people are like, "Nah, whatever, meh." That's all they say. And so those people are not open. But what I'm saying is, like, most of my friends are interesting. Most of you guys are interesting. Even if you don't find yourself interesting, Greg, because I know you struggle with that, you're still unique. I don't know another Greg. So to me, you're interesting. These conversations that we have, are interesting, right? So I'm always looking for interesting people that I can learn from. That's really why this podcast is for. I want to know the interesting different thought process out there. Well, why do you think that way? Oh, okay. Cool. And I'll get something out of that. Maybe people will get something out of that. If we go to an event, usually I meet a couple of people and I meet a lot interesting. I'm like, "Oh, what? Like, you do this? Oh, cool. Tell me more about that. Why do you do that? How long have you been doing this?" And by doing that, because once you listen to people, or once you're willing to listen to people, they're willing to share their life with you. And with that knowledge, usually comes wisdom or just bullshit. And that's where you filter the people that you talk to. Again, like I've talked to people who they've been just BS from the get-go. Yeah, they said some funny things and I laughed, and yeah, I'm not going to be talking to those people anymore. Other people have been honest, And that honesty went a long way. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, wow, this guy's really honest with me. And I was honest with him. Now that's a start of a relationship, you know? Again, like for you, a lady friend would be, I want to get to, well, first comes the attraction. Like, you're like, damn, what's up, girl? Then comes the, let me get to know you. Then comes the, well, maybe I didn't want to get to know you. Whatever. Or I do want to get to know you. Hey, you want to have pizza tomorrow? I know a really good restaurant down the street by my house. Sure. Cool. Then now it's a date. You take her to get pizza. I told you, I'm like, Greg, this is a great date place.
As we were eating there?
As we were eating, I'm like, Greg,
what the? Did you take me on a date today?
No.
You didn't pay for my damn food?
But, you could easily be like, you go out there, break the ice, have a nice dinner, walk to the beach, see the sunset, Netflix and chill. Whatever comes after that, let the imagination run wild. That's really how it is. I don't know. People are always like, oh, Greg, or Marco, you're out of the market. You don't know what you're talking about. I must know what I'm talking about because I sold myself to someone who wants to be here forever.
Yeah, I think people think that, like, people don't see, I don't think a lot of people go into relationships in the sense of necessarily caring if they last or not. And I think that's the difference between me and most people is I want to go into something that's going to last.
Yeah, Greg, but that's
and I know
very
it may not
hard
be realistic.
To find. That's hard to find.
That's how I think about it. So that's why it may keep me out of it.
So perhaps you need to change your perception of that.
I mean, that even applies to friends. Like, I don't go out and, like, thinking about back when in high school, we were all friends. I never once hung out with any of you guys outside of school until we graduated.
Yeah, I mean, then you were also in a relationship.
Yeah, but I don't think that really mattered. We never ever once were like, hey, let's go meet up.
And you worked. Like, there was no...
Sure, but there was never... we never once were like, oh, let's go do something someday. We never really did.
Well, you... But all of us...
You guys all hung out, but you guys also all live by each other.
No.
You guys all live right now? No. Okay. Well, whatever. Dude. I never did.
You know what I wondered? How did Ishmael get to Foothill? He lived in Garden Grove, no?
Didn't he drive the whole time?
No.
From what I knew, he always drove.
What? By the way, he should be next. I told him, I'm like, hey, I need you to be on the podcast.
Yeah, he's got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But like there wasn't much there, and so I think that's one of the other things.
Maybe you weren't open to it.
I prefer longer periods of time before calling someone my friend. Like, there's a lot of people who will meet someone today and drop things to go and talk to those people. Like, they're the best friend. Like, you may have something very important and we made plans to do it tomorrow, but I drop it for someone that I just met today because they need something tomorrow. And it's like, on no level would I ever do that. But some people are all about that. And that's the thing. Like, it takes me a long time to make someone worthy. I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, you mean the vetting process?
I guess, and my vetting process is way too damn long, I think.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's really about... Well, also, you need to be a better judge of character.
I mean, in one circumstance, maybe.
For me, as soon as I get to talk to someone, and it's just, I don't think of it as a skill. It just comes natural to me. I look for these things subconsciously. I don't know. Maybe I've been fucked over in my life too many times, and I subconsciously I think about this. But I get to talk to someone like today or yesterday. Like I said, I'm talking to this guy. I picked up on the tricks subconsciously, and then it made me aware. Like, oh, I see what's going on here. You know?
Yeah.
That happens to me a lot. If I meet someone and they start talking to me, I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, that person's nice, but I don't want to be their friends. You know? I don't know what to call that. Just my intuition with that is pretty good.
Maybe
So far.
my intuition is a little too good then.
Maybe you're mistaking your intuition for perception. Maybe the way you perceive people to you, like you need to know, you need to understand that people change. Just
Some
because
people
they were
say my
shitty,
values are too high.
well, your values are your values, but you mean your standards.
Sure.
And your standards also, they need to be realistic. As of, like you said, you feel like you're supposed to live in a different era, right? Well, in today's era and in today's culture, you can't change that.
Yeah, but
You can't just be like, well,
but that's
I hate people that are into Nicki Minaj, right? I'm just saying this, okay?
Okay.
And then she's got millions of followers, billions of people listen to her music. For you to say that, it's too. It's like, well, do you why?
I think that's a misconception too, though.
What?
Like we talk about people who listen to the music. I think that's something that's part of the world now is wanting the next wow thing. It's wanting the next, oh my gosh, did they really just do that? I would never do it, but it's interesting to see that someone else did it.
Yeah.
And I think that's all she is.
Well, yeah.
And that's my point. If you're actually into that, I'm not into you.
But that's where I'm telling you.
And that's the problem.
Maybe
that's the thing.
It's for that brief point of time. Maybe they're into, like, you like all the bands from high school? You listen to the same music right now that you did from high school?
I don't really listen to music that much.
But you did in high school.
No, I really didn't.
Yeah, you always sent me like pendulum or like bass and bass and drums or whatever, drum and bass music.
I think I may have sung a few songs, but I wasn't like into it.
I see. Okay,
I got in trouble in high school because I didn't have a favorite band. I was sent to the principal's office and almost got suspended because I couldn't name my favorite band. Because I couldn't even name a band.
That's a bad example. Okay.
But that's my point. Like, I wasn't into it. I'm not into the things that people are into. So it's harder for me to find someone who I'm actually interested in.
Well, you need to be interested in.
And that's where the boundary comes between a personal level and a friendship level.
For me, this is the way I think about it. It's like, well, what can I learn from this person? That's it. I don't care what they're into. I don't care. I have my own likes. I'm not basing my likes on them. What can I learn from them? Even bad people can teach you good things.
Sure, but if you're in a situation that you don't like all the time, like let's say that your wife really loved to listen to the Teletubbies every day. Like, that not bother you every day? Like, that's my point. There has to be interest. Sure, there can be smaller things that are not that important, that aren't like you said, you like to drink Coca-Cola and she likes to drink Sprite. Sure, it's not a big deal. But if you like to dress conservatively and not show off your body, and she likes to dress with the least amount of clothes as possible, that can be conflicting. And that's what I'm saying. There's too much confliction with what I see to be on a personal level with what the world puts out there, or the majority of people put out there. Yeah, so it's harder to find a relationship I'm willing to work on.
But it's like, It's like being in hell and not wanting it to be different and you wanting it to be heaven. It's like being in hell and expecting it to be heaven. Like, no, you're in hell. Hey, this is reality. There are a lot of things you don't like. You need to accept them for what they are. You don't necessarily have to be on doing the same thing. You don't. But maybe that's where the forging comes. It's I like this, you like that. At the end of the day, we have two different a conversation about the things we may or may not have in common. It like this is what bothers me about just about not the way you think, but the way you like the relate in relationships, the way you explain them to me. I don't want. It's like, would you want to date yourself?
No, because I don't like guys. But okay.
Do you attitude wise, personality wise, intellect wise, common things? You want your girl to be in video games and to like the same food and to like everything you like?
It'd be pretty nice.
For a while, then it'd be really annoying. I'd be like, oh, okay. Nothing new. What did you do today, Greg? Okay, no, not today. What did you do yesterday, Greg?
I don't know.
Let's say that you asked her that. What did you do yesterday? I don't know.
Okay.
It'd be annoying, you know? But what if you had someone who's like, hey, you guys do dinner. She's like, what did you do today? Oh, dude, I was just raiding people. I just wrecked them, whatever you guys gamers call it nowadays. And then she'd be like, oh, that's cool. And you'd be like, hey, what did you do? Oh, I just I was reading about this, the psychology of this, whatever, blah blah blah. Oh, really? Okay, cool. Like, that's nice. How much of the same things are you willing to accept from a person?
But see, that's my point though, is that those are fine, having different interests. But when your values don't line up, it just doesn't work.
But you're pretending that everyone's values are different.
No, I'm not pretending. I just don't think there's enough people on a day-to-day basis, or I don't know where to look for these type of people on a day-to-day basis. You need to talk to them in order to know where their values lie. But not if they put their values right in front of you, and you don't appreciate what they're doing in front of you at the time.
Maybe.
Like, you're not going to a strip club looking for a wife.
Maybe.
Then that wife is going to be what the stripper is.
Yeah.
And that's my point. I don't want a stripper as a wife. It might be nice if your wife could do stripper type things for you.
Oh, now you're being different. Contradictory.
No. Because there's a difference when it's a private concept between you and the person, or when it's a public thing where now what's the point? Like, you're doing it for everyone. Where's the relationship between you and I? It's just the same as if I was a new person walking in the front door of a strip club. You're not giving me anything special. That's the point why there is no other Marco. There is no other Greg. Because I'm giving you something that no one else can.
But wouldn't you say that your time with that stripper would be unique?
No, well, in a sense, yes. Only because in that moment, it's between me and the stripper.
And in the same way...
But that same relationship and what that stripper did for me is the same relationship what that stripper would do for you.
How do you know
that? Where's there
what if she was like, oh, what's this? Oh, hey, Greg, call up Wingstop, get the beers ready. I'm going home with you. And she won't do that with anybody else. Also, you have to realize that, again, the way people present themselves sometimes, they're not thinking behind their actions. They're just doing things because it's acceptable by society. Sure. They may actually be a very conservative type of person in terms of standards and values and things that you want. But at the time you met them, they were dropping a low at the club, but not because they were looking for the bad attention. They didn't know how to find you. Maybe this will make him see me, because that's a whole different game in and of itself. You know, and then you're like, oh well, she's a whore, and then the values and the things that you wanted were in that person.
See, I can understand in the conversation how that could make sense, but the point is when you're in that, you don't see past the value of what they are providing at the time. When you are approached, let's say you're approached by who your wife is now, years ago, and she was, let's say, the worker at Carl's Jr. Like you worked at Carl's Jr. and you met and you had a decent conversation and it was fine. And then you guys got married because you met at Carl's Jr.
But that
Would
was
there
the
be a
case.
difference between that and you meeting her in a strip club and she was a stripper?
No, you've never heard that song? I'm in love with the stripper.
But see,
Jamie Foxx, bro.
But see, there's fake love where you think you're in love with something, but it's not providing you.
Would you
anything.
say that everything's fake love then?
I think there's a lot of fake love. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta go through the shit to find the real thing. You have to dig through the mine to find gold.
But that's my point. If you keep digging through shit, you're not gonna find the gold in the shit. You're gonna find the gold where the gold lies.
Okay. In analogy,
am I gonna keep digging through shit just hoping that eventually I find the gold? No. You go for where the gold is, and that's my point. I don't know where
because you're not going through the trenches. You're not going through the things. You're not willing to look at people beyond the value that they're presenting. It's like, yeah, this person might be dressed in the skankiest outfit, but you don't know she's only doing that because she doesn't know how to find you. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't know how to find you. That's her way of finding you. Just the way that you're looking for her, she's looking for you. And maybe she'll say no to 100 guys. Hey, baby, you want to dance? No. Hey, you want to dance? No. You know how many times women get that? And then eventually they find someone like, yeah, you're the one. I'm going to dance with you. And then you go dance with them. But if you're like, well, nope, that's not the mind I want to get into. Nope, that's not the mind I want. Oh, there's so many mines out here. Yeah, I don't want any of these mines. You're never going to start digging through the coal to find the gold. Like, that's literally how I think about, like, your perception where in the dating world. But even with friends, we've had horrible friendships. Common ones and not common ones. Then we found the right people. Right? Or even bad relationships became good relationships. But how are you going to get to that gold if you don't dig through the mine or the coal? It's like, or sometimes you struck what seems to be gold and it's just sterling silver. It's just, that's the fake. It's whatever. Then you're like, okay, I learned my lesson. Cool. But if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't talk to these people, they don't know who Greg is. They don't know anything. And it's actually like, you like marketing. That's what marketing is. Put yourself out there. Be relevant. People will come. Some of them will buy your product. Some of them won't. Because at the end of the day, we're product. We're selling ourselves to gain something. That be it emotional support in general, maybe perks by being friends with someone, whatever it is, dude. We're always selling ourselves to have people either like us or, it's a game. It's a back and forth game that we're playing with each other. the reason why we're willing to sit through this conversation back and forth and have difference in opinions because maybe you found something that we talked about interesting and maybe it'll go home with you. And the same way I found something that I found interesting and it'll go home with me. You know?
Yeah.
And the next time we talk about it, I'm like, hey, remember that? Yeah, dude, you were so right. Hey, remember that? Oh, dude, you were so right. You don't remember that thing you told me? No, you were wrong. I tried this, whatever. But that's the only way we're ever going to find relationships. You know, especially, I don't know, dude. I know it's tough out there. There's some people that just, I don't know. Well, I really don't know. But there's also, if there's bad, there's good. So it's the same thing, dude. If there's bad people, there's good people. And that's just the way I look at things.
Yeah.
You know, but, before we go and whatnot, relationships have molded my life. The reason why I'm here is because of the relationships I've made so far. The reason why we're here is because of the relationship that we've had for 14 years. And it's really crazy to think about it that way. And most of the time, people, I'm guilty myself. I take it for granted sometimes. But then when we have these conversations, I'm like, damn, I'm really glad I'm friends with Greg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, get out there, make some good friendships.
No, stay inside. Saves lives.
Oh man, get out there. Be 6 feet apart. It's wear a mask, whatever you need to do. I don't care. Wear double underwear so you don't get the COVID. I don't care, man. Do whatever you have to do. But get out there, make the relationships, appreciate the relationships that you have, and come join us in this community. I hope to make relationships with you guys. Comment. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about relationships? How have relationships impacted you throughout your life? Either good experiences or bad experiences. Share it with the community here with Thought Process. Subscribe to the channel. Hit a like on this
video. Check us out
video
on Instagram for those going live videos we're posting.
Yeah, if you guys ever want to know when we're going live, we usually post it on Instagram, sometimes Facebook, Twitter, and check out the website. Give us some feedback. Soon we'll have some merch, and as always, we're just trying to improve this podcast, the content, and just be transparent with you guys, so that you always know what to expect here. This is a no BS zone. We tell it how it is. Right, Greg? You got to get out there, man.
We tell it how we think it is.
We tell it how we think it is. Yeah. That's also a good way to look at it. And any last thoughts, Greg?
No, looking good.
Okay. So, for today's excerpt of Heart of a Buddha, it goes like this. Irrigators guide the water. Fletchers shape the arrow shaft. Carpenters shape the wood. Control themselves. And with that, thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Thought Process. We'll see you guys in the next episode next week.
Good night, guys.
Have a good night. Talk to you later.